Well, hello again, everybody. Boyd here with you, and welcome to episode 52 of the Model Shop. Well, before I kick things off tonight, guys, I want to thank everybody this week. Some of you guys may know that earlier this week we announced that we had put together a team to submit a proposal to the Smithsonian Institution, who's doing a restoration on the original 11-foot Enterprise model from the classic Star Trek television series, and we had a really tremendous response, and you guys showed us a lot of support, and we really want to say a big thank you for that. Things are still kind of working on that a little bit. We'll see what kind of shakes out on that. Not much word to report so far, but we're still just kind of hanging in there. So on that note tonight, guys, we're going to be showing you a lot of Enterprise. I'm finishing up a 1/350 scale Polar Lights TOS Enterprise, and I'm going to take you over onto the bench, and I'm going to be showing you the work I'm doing getting the decals put down on it. I've added some of the decals onto it already, but I'm finishing up with that, and I'm going to show you my a few tips and tricks that I use here to get the decals laid down. So we'll be right back with that. It's going to be kind of a short show tonight, guys. I didn't have a lot of prep time this week. I was busy doing a lot of other things, but we should have some fun stuff to show you with the Enterprise, and we'll talk about a few things after that when we wrap up. So have a quick look at our sponsors, guys, and we'll be right back after that. We'll be set up on the bench and get to work on that 350 Enterprise. Be right back, everybody. All right, everybody. Well, we're back with you, and you can see we've got our big 1/350 scale classic Enterprise on the bench here, and we're getting ready to work on these decals now. You can see I've applied some of the decals on it, the basic ones here and there, and I'm going to take you through applying the decals up onto the dorsal area of the model and then up onto the top of the saucer, and show you a couple little tips and tricks that I use for doing that here. So let me get slide it over here and get into position for you, and we'll get things started. At the end of this thing here, we'll take it back over to the bench and we'll turn on the lights for you so you guys can see it all lit up and everything. I'm just about done with it. I've only got a few little small details to do to it here and there, and I've got to wire up my switches and everything here on the base. But what I'm going to start with here is I'm going to apply this decal here that goes along the dorsal area here, this kind of twin red pinstripe that we've got to lay down. And I've got all these decals here kind of cut out and ready to go, so I'm just going to dip this in some water, and we'll let it get ready for us here a little bit. Now, what I wanted to talk about is that I've got some tools here ready to go. I've got a little bit of my Walthers Salva set. We got one decal up here on the top, on the back of the BC deck, that has to make sort of a little curve right here. And when we lay that one down, we'll notice that it doesn't want to lay down on there very good, because it has to make a, it has to fold over, and then it has to kind of wrap around it a little bit. So the edges of that try to, have a tendency to try to stick up a little bit there. So we're going to use a little bit of Walthers on that to get that to lay down for us. and then we're going to move on and do the rest of the decals on the top and put our big registry number and name up here on the top. That's my favorite part of building these. When you finally lay that one down, it really brings the model to life, and it really starts looking like the Enterprise. So we'll just let this soak a little bit. I've also got my tack rag here, which I always use just before I lay my decals down. I'll just give this a little quick wipe on here to make sure there's no dust or anything sitting on it that would, might make a little bit of air pockets or bubbles underneath of my decals. I've clear coated this entire model after I painted it with some Tester's dull coat, and we're going to seal it again with some Tester's dull coat after we're finished. But we're going to we have a nice smooth surface on this now, so the decal will lay down and it'll nice and flat, and it'll move around a little bit for us. It'll slide easily, because when you first put your decals down, you're not going to always get them in the exact perfect position, so you're going to have to move them around just a little bit. I'm just going to give this another hit with water. And then I've got my little pump spray bottle here with a little bit of water in it, and I'll just go ahead and apply a little bit of water, just kind of spritz it on right here a little bit, and that'll give us a little bit of it'll make it a little bit slicker there, so the decal will be able to slide around a little. And I'll also point out that what I do here is I've got my water here, but what I do is I put just a little bit of dab of canopy glue in this. You can't really see it in the picture here, but my water is kind of cloudy. I don't put a ton of it in there. I put just a little bit, and that actually helps my my decals lay down a little bit better and stick a little bit better once they finally cure and everything. It won't stain the decals. It'll dry completely clear, and it works out really, really great. It helps the decals lay down on the model really, really nice. Just in case, every once in a while, some of the decals that you get, they don't have a lot of adhesion on them. And if you move them around very much, or things like that, they kind of lose their stickiness and they'll start trying to jump up on you, and this kind of cures that problem. So let's test this decal out here and see if it's ready to move for us. Now I've built several of these kits now. I think this is my 7th one, and I always like to say that this particular model, the decal set that it comes with, I've always been really pleased with them. They lay down on the model really nice. When they dry, they don't hardly have any edges on them. They lay down really nice and flat. I've never had a problem with them ripping or coming apart or disintegrating or anything. So I sure wish a lot of the other kits out there had decals that were this high quality, but these are really nice. Okay, guys, we're ready to lay this down. I've got it all. I can see that it's ready to come off the sheet here now. So what I like to do on these really long decals is I'll lay it down on here flat like this, and then I'll just get a little bit of it at the end here and break it loose. Just kind of slide it off of the decal on the very tip there, or the paper, and then I'll just kind of catch it with my finger. And when I pull it off, I want to try to be pretty close to where I want to move it a whole lot. But I try to keep it laying flat on the model as possible. You don't want to have the decal having to maybe jump off on you and get stuck on something or whatever. So I try to lay these decals really flat, just like this, and just slide the paper out from underneath of it like that. And you can see we had no problem at all with that decal there. It just laid right down on there. And I'm just going to gently move it around here and get it lined up here. Get it nice and centered. I want to look down this, look at it at eye level here and make sure that it looks nice and straight. Looks really good. So now I've got a little paper towel here, and I'm just going to start dabbing away some of this excess water that's on here now. Looks like we just need to come over just a tiny little bit here up at the top. Looks nice and straight to me. So now I'll just start actually tamping down over top of the decal itself. There you go. You can see we've got that one on there looking really nice. So that's one down, guys. A couple more to go here. And we'll just let that sit for a little bit. We're going to let these sit here for a little bit, and then we're going to come back and give them a chance to evaporate a little bit. And then I'm going to show you a next step that I'll do, which is applying some Tester's Decal Bonder. We'll spray that down on this, and then once that's dry, we'll be able to come back and do our dull coat. I probably won't be doing the dull coat sealer tonight, but we probably will have some time here to do the Decal Bonder on that. So let's start moving along a little bit further here. We've got these kind of rectangle-shaped markings here that need to go up on top of the saucer at the back right here. I've got to double check here. I'm using my box. If you guys have built this kit, or some of you that haven't, they don't actually give you a decal reference like they usually do on the instruction sheet with this model. So you've got to use the box art. You'd think that I would know these by heart by this time, but I always like to go and double check and make sure. So I'm looking at the picture on the side of the box art here that shows the top view of the saucer, and I can see now where my decals go. They have these kind of little yellow rectangles here that need to be facing forward. So we're going to make sure we place these right. We'll go ahead and start them soaking here real quick. And we'll put a little bit of, I'm going to take my tack rag here first and go over the top of this saucer to make sure we don't have any dust on it. I've got it really, really smooth, guys. It's baby smooth. It looks really nice. We did with our dull coat and everything on there. It looks really great. I've already done all the decals on the bottom side of the saucer as well. I guess I could tilt that up and show you guys here where you're watching. And we've got the bottom of the belly done there as well. So we're just kind of working our way up here from the top to, or from the bottom to the top. And we can see the outline. They actually have the outline of this kind of scribed into the surface here, so we can see exactly where these are supposed to line up. Now we're going to go ahead and spritz a little water on here again. And we should be ready to go in just a second here. We'll just give these another douse here and see if they're starting to break free for us. Want to be really gentle with these so you don't tear them. And it's definitely not fun when that happens. They're going to take just another second or two here. These are taking a little bit longer to come loose than the other ones did. Okay, this one's moving for us. We're going to double check again now here. This one goes on the starboard side here to the right, so we're going to go ahead and lay this one down. That one looks good. Get rid of a little bit of this excess water here. Really good. Looks great. Okay, let's get this one off of here. All right, those came out really good, guys. Perfect. Once we get the water soaked up here, these actually dry up pretty fast. I've had the air conditioning on here in the shop for a while, got all the humidity out of here, so these will not take long before they'll settle down real nice for us here. Just making sure they look equal and square and everything. I'm real happy with that, so we're going to move on now. We've got this little double pinstripe again here now that goes in between our bridge, our BC deck, and this little detail here on the top of the spine. So I'm just going to check this out. This decal actually has to sort of slide underneath of the this little detail right here, and hopefully I've got enough clearance in there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little notch in this just in case, so it'll go around it. Grab my scissors here real quick. Okay, that should help us out there. Okay, let's get this one soaking down for us. We'll be back to doing some work on our shuttle Tidarium next week. I did a little bit of work on it this week, but I didn't have a whole lot of time. I was busy getting this model finished up and finishing up a couple of other projects that I had. I hope you guys saw the Miami Vice Daytona Spider that we finished up. I was happy with how that one turned out, and I decided today to go ahead and order the Testarossa kit that goes with that. And here on the channel, I'm going to start building up the Shelby 427 Cobra that we showed you guys the kit review of a couple of weeks ago. And you'll also see some segments here on the show of us working on the Badass Models Battlestar Galactica. I have that kit sitting right here, and I know you guys have seen it before, but I've started to do a little bit more work on that now too. And we're starting on the battle head here first. I guess they call it the alligator head or whatever it is, but we're going to be doing our drilling and getting our fiber optics installed in this to do our lighting on that. And we're going to do an entire build series on our channel. I talked about it in the last video. We're building two of those. We've got one that we're doing sort of with some battle damage on it, and then we've got the other one that we're going to be building right out of the, like it just came out of the shipyards basically, or the way it looked at the beginning of the Battlestar Galactica television series. I just wanted to mention again a real quick shout out to Jerry at HDA Model Works. Jerry sent me the second kit and basically donated it, and I'm going to be selling that kit when it's finished, and we're going to use the funds for that to help finance our 8-foot Enterprise refit build that we're working on. And so Jerry, really appreciate that, and we're going to do a great job on both of the models. We're going to be doing a lot of lighting effects, and then we've got some Aztec painting to do. We're going to be adding those multiple layers of panels onto the model and detailing all the armor and everything on that, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to getting started on that. And we'll have a regular series going on the channel, and then here on the show, you guys will see little updates of that as we go along too. Okay, this one's ready to go, so let's get this one put down. And like I mentioned, it has to sort of slide underneath of this. That worked great. That little notch that we put in there Made that work perfect there. Maybe if I put you guys up a little bit higher here, you can kind of look down a little bit more and see what I'm doing a little bit better. There, that should be a little bit better. Okay, and let's move along here now. Now we're going to get to this little one I mentioned here, this kind of little yellow guy that's actually this little red rectangle shape here that we've got to lay on there, and that one is the one that tries to fight you here a little bit. The rest of the models don't have to go around very many the decals don't have to go around many curves or anything, so you don't have much trouble with that. But this one here is just a little bit finicky. Use my tack rag here first. These are sure loosening up a lot faster than the decals did that we were working on that Spitfire that we did here a couple of weeks ago. Those were 40-year-old decals, and it was taking like 20 minutes for each one of them to break loose, but these are working out great. Don't want to force it too much here. We'll just kind of give it a couple seconds. So I hope you guys had a chance to work on some of your models this week. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys after we get to our Q&A session here and find out what you guys have been working on. Seen some really nice updates on the Google page, some of the stuff you guys are doing. And I'm working on getting another slideshow put together. We've got just about enough photographs that have been submitted to do another one, so keep them coming, guys. If you're out there and you've got something just about ready, you can send them again to our info@trekworks.net email address. And I always love featuring those and getting a chance to talk about the work that you guys did on those. Some fantastic models and techniques and everything you guys are using out there. So, yep, I can see that looking at this one, it's trying to do its usual gig here. It's trying to stick up there just a little bit on the side. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this Walther's Solvaset on this. Not going to drown it in the stuff. I'm just going to brush a little bit on there. And that's all it takes. And if it wrinkles up on you a little bit at first, don't worry about it. Don't pick at it or start trying to fuss with it, because you'll just cause more damage. Just let it sit, and after a little bit of time, it'll just settle right down on there for you and be perfectly flat. You might have to do that application of Walther's once or twice if you have one that's particularly stubborn. But we'll see how this one goes. That little bit right there should take care of it. Okay, I'm looking at the top of the model box now to see where exactly where our name and registry number goes on this. Actually, before we move on to there, let's do this little yellow one here that goes up on the top, and that way we'll be finished with the BC deck detail there. And that'll just take a second here. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm using this as a reference so that we can see they sit on a particular sort of a grid line on the top of the model. You can kind of count the grids, the grid lines as they come down. You can get a pretty good idea where this decal should sit. Let's see how this one's doing. what I'll be doing here after this is all done is after I get all the decals laid down, we've got a whole bunch of these little tiny marking kind of demarcation numbers, I guess they're called. The little markings that go on the sides of the secondary hull. I'm not going to show those going on here because they're kind of really tedious and they take a lot of time. But I'll put those down, and then I'll, like I said, I'll apply my tester's decal bonder on all the areas that I've applied the decals to. I'll let that dry, and then I'll do my airbrushing detail. I'm going to do a little bit of shading up here around the edge of the saucer, and then make a few streak marks. You guys have seen that technique that I've done on these models before. A few streak marks on the edges of the pylons and here and there. I'm not overdoing it. I don't like to put too much weathering on the Enterprise. So just a little bit to give it some detail there. Just very easy to do with the airbrush. Okay, we're going to lay this one down now. Get rid of that excess water. Just giving it the old eyeball here to make sure it looks square and lined up with the rest of it. Looks pretty good. Okay, and that one's laying on a nice flat surface, so we don't have to do anything with Walthers on that one. Okay, now it's time for the biggie, guys, and we'll get started on this one up here at the top. The name and the registration number on here, the famous NCC 1701. What I've done here is I've split these decals up. As you can see, I've trimmed them down as close as you can get. That way you eliminate some of the film that's there, and that's less chance that you'll see the edges of the decals once you get it applied. And I've got just a little dash here. Now these decals from the kit are die cut, so you're only gonna, you're not gonna have a bunch of excess film. This little decal here, the dash, and this will basically come off and just be the dash itself. Not much excess film around it, so that should work out pretty good. So just going to go over this one more time with our tack rag and put our water down. I'm going to go ahead and do the dash first, and then that's the center of everything, and that'll kind of let us work off of that and get everything else lined up real nice. Yeah, I wish they gave you a little bit better view of that. Maybe they do on the top side here. There you go. Yeah, it looks like they're, if I remember correctly, they go on here just above the area where it starts to kind of flatten out on this kind of dome area here, so we'll get that right. Almost there. All right. Got that center line right there. I'm going to start these soaking while we're working on that one. Oh wow, okay. Yeah, this actually does have a really big piece of film with it. I thought that was just going to be a small little piece, but let me, I've got my scissors here, so I'll just go ahead and trim this down. You can still do that when it's wet. We don't need a lot of excess film there, so. There we go, got that one down. Now, it's basically split right on that center line. There's a line right in the center in between these two little port windows here at the front that runs straight down the middle. So we know that's the line we have to be on, and we're just right on the center of that. I'm going to leave the water on that and not dry that up just yet because we're probably going to have to move it around just a little bit. Like I mentioned before, this is my favorite step here, guys. So you guys are getting to see the funnest part, I think, is finally getting this big number and name down on the top. You have to do a lot of work to get to that point. Kind of makes you feel good that you know you're kind of getting towards the end. There it goes, starting to move. Okay, guys, I'm going to get this one up on here. All right. Not worried too much about the position on it yet because we want to see the whole thing. Make sure it's going to be nice and even here for us. All right. I'm going to stand up here so I can see it from above. I think it's supposed to slide down just a tiny little bit here. Just going to reference my picture again here. Using these grid lines. Kind of coming off that one right there. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the grids and I'm just kind of using as a reference and checking the spacing between each one. There we go, guys. What do you think? I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of all this water. We got a lot of water here. Go ahead and get my last one soaking here. Leave a little bit of water up here in this area here so we can use that for our last decal here. Like I said, they lay down on there beautiful. There's no no problems at all. No air pockets or anything. Just looks great. Okay, we'll just add a little bit of water right up here. Alright guys, the big one, the finale, the names going on here. Oops, I tore that one. That's not good. It's okay, we can work with that. You just broke the E off there on the end. Now, according to what I'm seeing here, it looks like these other decals need to be moved down a little bit. I think we're too high, so I'm going to slide those down just a little bit. We're good here still. We can definitely do that. There's a certain gap that the USS is supposed to be between these. Yeah, we've got to come down a little bit here. Just checking my grid lines again here. The E is supposed to line up just about basically with the edge of the 1. and the U winds up right about even with the middle of the N. There, that looks pretty good there. Goes to show you that when you need the whole thing down on there to really see what it should look like. So we've got it right now. I'm going to grab a new paper towel, guys. This one's got too much water on it. Hang on just 1 second. Okay. Got a tiny little air pocket underneath the bottom of my C here I need to get rid of. There we go. Okay, guys, well, there you go. There's a look at how it looks on the top. I christened the USS Enterprise. Okay, guys, so now what we have to do is just let this dry just a little bit here. It won't take long. And then we're going to do our decal bonder. So I'm going to take a really quick little break here. Hang tight. We'll come back and we're going to start. We'll put our decal bonder down on some of these areas that we've already worked on. And we'll show you how that goes here in just a second, guys. Be right back after a quick little break. All right, everybody, back with you here. I hope you enjoyed the little break and got a chance to get something to drink or something to munch on. And everything's shaping up real nice here. We're going to go ahead now and lay down some decal bonder. This decal we did here in the back first is ready to go. I'm just going to go over this again with my tack rag, make sure there's no dust or stuff that's accumulated here in the shop that's laying down on that. And I'm just going to douse this with a little bit of a misting down of this stuff. You don't need very much, guys, just that one or two quick little passes like that. That's all you need. You don't have to go crazy with that stuff. It's not meant to be a paint or a sealer or, you know, a top coat or whatever. You just want to put a little bit on there so it just grabs the decal and make sure it's settled down really good and put sort of a, you know, nice little bond over the top of it. And so I'm going to go ahead and do these here that we did at the rear of the saucer now. And you can see that our little decal here settled down really nice on the top of the BC deck after using that Walthers. So we're just going to hit that. And that's all you need, guys, just a little puff like that. You don't have to blast it on there so it looks really shiny and all that. So this one here is fairly recent, so I want to be sure what I'm going to be doing here, guys. I'm just taking my heat gun, and you guys have seen this a million times, and I'm just going to lightly go over it here from pretty far away just to make sure I kind of dry up any of the moisture that might still be in there. And this decal bonder actually dries pretty fast. Three or 4 minutes, and it's usually dry. Okay, now we're able to dust this one down as well. That's it, guys. In case you haven't seen this before, this is what it looks like. Just regular, same as your regular tester spray cans. I've been using this stuff forever, since, golly, back in the, I don't know, 70s or early 80s when I was building models way back, and I've never had any problems with it. It doesn't attack any of your paint, or I've never seen it attack any of the decals or you know, do anything weird. So what I'm going to do is just, as I said, I've already done these here, so I'm going to go ahead and just dust these down really quick. And then our ones here on the bottom of the saucer. What this also does, guys, is it helps settle the decals down really nice, and it'll help hide your edges of your decals too. So when you top coat it with whatever you're going to use, whether it's going to be gloss or dull coat or whatever, it will definitely help hide those a little bit, make them look a little bit cleaner. And we're going to do these here on the sides of the nacelles and on the belly. Okay, so that looks really good. Really happy. Just besides that little tear in that decal, which we recovered from, no problem. We didn't have many issues at all there. Went really smooth, especially on live TV, and I'm sure glad it did. Okay, guys, so that's this. Like I said, it'll take a few minutes to dry. You can help it a little bit with your heat gun if you have one. So I'm going to just, you know, go over this real lightly, just kind of help them dry a little bit. And the reason I like to do this all the time is because the quicker you can get everything dry, that's the less chance that some, you know, dust or something out of the air comes down and lands on it and gets stuck to it. That's one of the big reasons why I force dry a lot of my stuff. The longer the paint sits wet, the more chance it has of getting junk stuck in it. And I'm not getting right on top of them, as you could tell. I'm just kind of staying about 6 or 8 inches away. You don't have to blowtorch these things. Okay, so came out really great, guys. What I'm going to do now is take a really quick break again, and I'll move this over to the bench near my power supply, and I'll get the camera turned around, and then I'll light this thing up for you guys so you can see how it looks. And then we're going to call this one a wrap. I'll be going back, like I said, and doing a bunch of the those little kind of marking decals that go on the side there. And then all I've really got left is to install my deflector dish and top coat the entire model with my dull coat. And then the very last thing I'll do is I'll put these little marker domes on here because I like to leave them nice and shiny, and the bridge dome on the very top, which I like that to be nice and shiny too. So we'll leave that to the very end. I've got to do the little dome here on the back too, and these I've got little holes drilled here, right here where there's three little lights that go in here. There's actually light coming up through that when I put those in place. They're two reds and a green. I've done those with some Tamiya transparent paint, and those will light up real nice when I stick those down in there. Just a little dab of canopy glue, and they'll be installed in there. So, okay, guys, another quick break. Be right back with you, and we'll have it all lit up so you can check it out. See you in just a couple seconds. All right, everybody, we're back with you again, and here's a look at the model sitting back over on the bench, and I've got all the lights powered up on it for you. And you can see our decals turned out really nice. Just kind of turn it here a little bit. You can see we've got the nice, we use the Tenant Controls Bassard boards on this one again. I really like these. These are going to last forever. You know, they have the multiple speeds, and they give the simulated spinning effect there, and they're completely noiseless, so that's really cool. If I can turn it around here and you guys can maybe see the shuttle bay. I tell you what I'm going to do here. I'll take the camera and go airborne. Now grab your barf bags, guys, because this camera is really bumpy when I start moving it around, but I'll try to be as steady as I can here. Get you a little bit better look at this. We'll go back here and take a look inside the shuttle bay first. I've still got to mount the shuttle in there, but you can see all that detail we've got going on in there. And up on the ceiling and everything. Side windows and all that are lit up. And then up over the top, you can now see how nicely our decals all laid down for us. Got the bridge all lit up in there, our screens and everything. And then down here on the bottom of the saucer, it's a little bit shiny still right now because I haven't dull coated it like I said, but we'll get the rest of these decals put down on this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And we've got another one just about ready to leave the old Trek Works shipyards here, so I'm really happy about that. I've got another one coming along right behind it. Get you settled back down here. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, kind of go up a little bit here. And there you go, guys. There's a little bit of work on I know a lot of you guys have been wanting to see some Star Trek here back on the channel again. So there's a look at our 350 Enterprise. Real happy with how it turned out. Another quick break again, guys. I'll come back and I'll be back on the table here, and we'll do our Q&A for tonight and our shout-outs and see who's all here tonight, guys. So stand by for that. See you then. Okay, everybody, back with you. I hope you enjoyed the work we showed on the Enterprise tonight. I'm going to head over to the Q&A page now and see what you guys are talking about and see who's here tonight. Going up to the top here. Okay, we've got Scott Hall tonight, Star Siege player, Space Pirates Hobbies. Good to see you, Chris. James Schulenberg, Mike Kovach, BL Alley, Mike Scarola. Federation Shipyards with us tonight here. David Hale, Chris Farrell. Let's see. Oh, Eric's here tonight. Nice to see you, Eric. Hope you're feeling better, buddy. And Chris with Classic Plastics here. Nice to see you, Chris. Love the work you're doing on those resin kits for your Halloween build. Both of them are turning out fantastic. If you guys haven't seen Chris's build of the Crypt Keeper, you got to check that out. He even put real hair on that thing. It looks really cool. And he's doing the Ghost Rider figure now, Johnny Blaze. I used to read that comic book, the old Marvel comic book, when I was a kid. I loved that series. I agree with you, Chris. I didn't think the movie was that great, but the comic books are really good. We've got W Hunt 10866. I don't think I've seen you here before. Nice to see you here, and welcome to our show. We've got BL Alley, SF Modeler. Sorry if I repeat some of you guys here. We got Shannon Freeman. Nice to see you, Shannon. T Commando. Nice to see you. Michael Bennett. Dan Harris. Dadnator 24. Nice to see you, Dadnator. Gary M. Just kind of scrolling my way through here, guys. There's a lot of you here tonight. Good to see that. Got Greg Bryan. Nice to see you, Greg. Jim Clark. Federation Shipyard. Okay, guys, I think that's everybody on the list. Somebody may have not typed anything recently in the chat, and I hope I don't miss them, but hopefully we'll catch you here before the end. I'm going to go through here, guys. If you have any questions or anything you want to ask about what we did on the model tonight, or anything else you want to talk about. Michael Bennett says, you guys are funny. Didn't realize what I was missing by just watching the shows recorded. Yeah, Michael, this is a great crowd of guys that shows up here every week for this. We always have a really fun time with the chat session. They'll talk about what they've been working on during the week and telling some jokes and stuff like that. It's always a really good time. Unfortunately, the videos, it doesn't save the comments from the session here. When I first started doing this, it was, but YouTube changed something about that, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, it's a lot more fun to tune into the show live. BL Alley is asking, how did the Smithsonian get the paint on the original sarong? Well, I'll give you a quick answer to that, BL. They sent it out to a person who wasn't qualified to do it. That's the simplest answer. You know, they actually let the model go off premises. And I remember back, you can actually go on the internet and look it up and see the work. There's some pictures of the restoration. I think it was done like sometime in the mid 90s or early 90s. And as soon as I saw those pictures, I was like, wow, you know, because the model parts were laying on the floor and propped up against the wall, and I mean, completely unprofessional. I don't think people that are dealing with this really realize, you know, the value of that. It's not just a model; it's a piece of history. It's an icon. It's priceless as far as most of us are concerned. So, yeah, that'll tell you right there why it turned out so poorly. And the paint didn't last. It started cracking. You know, it's in terrible condition now. They basically got totally ripped off. So, David Hale's asking if I left the grid lines on. Yep, there, David. They're there. This camera overexposes a little bit, so you can't really see them. But I left them on there. That's what the client wanted. Shannon says, if anyone wants a wrecked TOS Enterprise from me with lighting, just remember you have to pay for shipping. So you got that from Shannon out there, guys. Somebody said yeah, you could turn it into the USS Constellation. Okay. Space Pirate says I needed a miniature bottle of wine to bust on the hull. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, they're flashing by here pretty quick. I'm trying to keep up, guys. Jim Clark says, Shannon, pry your Enterprise open and fix it. You can fill the gaps with ProFlex finishing putty. It's an automotive filler used for plastic parts and bumpers. Not expensive. Goes on easy, and wet sand's great. So there you go, Shannon. They're pulling for you. You need to fix that baby. Jim Clark says the nice thing about the TOS is that there's no Aztec decals. Yeah, you can pretty much lay down all the decals in this entire model in about an hour or so. It's not that bad. Gary says, what's the tester's product Boyd is using? He says the name so fast and with that Texas drawl. Well, Gary, I'm not from Texas. I'm from Wisconsin. So I fooled you on that one. It's called Tester's Decal Bonder. I'll grab the can here again for you real quick and show it to you. I think they've just recently, yeah, this can I have here is an older can, but this is what it looks like now. I've kind of got half the label tore off, but it's in a kind of a blue label now. But it's just called Tester's Decal Bonder, and it is lacquer based. So it like I said, it works well with all of your other tester stuff, like your dull coat or your clear lacquer gloss if you're using that. And it works well with any kind of acrylics. You know, like I said, I use all acrylic paints here mostly. So the model has an acrylic base coat on it, acrylic urethane. So it has no reaction with that at all. And like I said, I'm really, call me stuck in my ways, but I tend to stick with things that I know I've tested over time that don't react with things. And I've never had it eat up a set of decals or anything go wrong with it. So, but you want to put it on there lightly. Like I said, you don't want to soak it down on there, or you might get runs or whatever. And if you put too much, it might shrivel up the decals. You know, you don't want to blast it on there. Chris says he thinks that dull coat is gloss coat with talc mixed in. I think exactly that's what it is, Chris. That's why it has a little bit of a texture to it. But you know, if when you spray the dull coat down, if you don't like that texture on there, you can take a nice, like one of these detailer towels, one of these microfiber towels here, and you can actually kind of buff on that a little bit, just dry, and it will smooth a lot of that out. It'll get rid of a little bit of that kind of rough feel that it has. David Hale says when he builds his, should he use the motors and the Bassards or get an LED lighting system? Well, David, you have your choice there. If you want the exact effect that they had on the television show, where you can actually see the fan blades spinning inside the model, you're going to have to go with motors. There's no other way around it. But there isn't any kit out there that doesn't make noise, and some of them are louder than others. The round 2, I don't recommend the round 2 setup at all, because just the fact that the motors are they're just outright cheap. They have plastic gears, they have a plastic shaft, they wobble a lot because the shaft has a lot of play in it. Ralph at Tenant Controls actually makes a motorized kit where you get much better quality motors, but they make a little bit of noise too, and then you've got to take into account that over time it's a motor, it's an electric motor. It will eventually quit or start getting even louder. So it's just one of the things you have to consider. I pretty much recommend to most of my clients when they ask me, when they want me to build one for them, that they go with these LED ones because, like I said, they're quiet, they don't make any noise, they still give you a really nice spinning effect, and you got multiple speeds. You can push your button there. It's got a little, you hook it up to a little switch, and you can make them. They start off when they first come on running pretty fast, and they have 3 different speeds they can run it. You push the button and they slow down one stage. You push the button again, they slow down another, and finally one more time they slow down to be really slow, and they'll pretty much last forever. They're LEDs, so I can't warranty any of the motors or anything when I do the motor job for people that want those. I've only had actually one client that actually wanted the motors, but like I said, you have to kind of think about all those things. Oh, James Frost is here. eBiker56. Nice to see you, James. Had a great time talking to you a couple weeks ago at the Hangout. We wound up, all of us stayed up there pretty late. I'm going to be doing more Hangouts, guys. I may once in a while alternate between doing a show on Saturday nights, and we'll just do a Hangout instead. Um, uh, we had a little trouble with getting people in the last one because what the issue was there is I have whenever I post that we're going to be doing a hangout, everybody that usually replies, I'll usually post it pretty early in the week, and I'll make a circle. I'll create a circle of people, of everybody that said they wanted to attend, and then I'll launch that circle and send the invite when I launch the hangout. But on that particular one, I had not formed a group yet of people for that, so I just put the link in the on the Model Shop guys page, and people were able to find it and get in anyways. But I'll try to get that organized and announce it earlier the next time we do it. Probably not next week, but maybe the week after that I'll do a regular hangout. It's really cool to get in the hangouts, and for some reason now it works a lot better on my end here. I used to have a lot of trouble whenever I got on Google and tried to do a hangout. It would just, my picture would be terrible. Everybody else's pictures would be terrible coming back to me. And I have a good internet connection here. I think it's a lot of us have talked about that before. I think it has something to do with how close you are to their server hub or something. And maybe they finally got around to improving the one I was going through or something, because the last time it worked pretty good. Alpha Tryon 92, I think you're new here. Nice to see you. He's asking, I don't know if it's he or a she, so I apologize. Any chance of an AMT Batwing or Batmobile build? Well, I did a while back, I did the classic Batmobile, and I'd like to build the Batwing. I've talked about that one before. I really like that model. So yeah, you'll probably see a Batwing sometime here on the channel. That's a neat little model that you can do some lighting on it and some lighting in the cockpit and all that. That'd be pretty cool. Galaxy Stranger, I think he's new as well. Will you ever do a presentation on making your own stencils and making your own custom model stands? I might get around to doing that sometime, Galaxy. A lot of the time when I need models, if I'm going to do a custom model stand, I'll usually farm that out to my friends Jerry and Dave at HDA Model Works and Wolf Base, because they have all. I'm not set up as a wood shop here, and most of those are made out of wood, and I obviously don't have a laser cutter or anything like that. And a lot of times my clients and things will want backlit panels and things like that, and I'm not set up to do any of that here. So I farm that out to those guys, and they do a fantastic job. A lot of the models that I've shown mounted on the bases that I have here in the on the channel, or the various builds I've shown on the videos, are all been their work, so I'm not going to take credit for that. But they do some fantastic work at very reasonable prices too, compared to what I've seen some of the other people are charging out there. Very reasonable. Yeah, he's saying, well, I meant some simple stands. Yeah, I've done some of those. I've shown on several videos how I do basic stands and things like that, using hollow tubing and a little bit of wood and then some epoxy and things like that. Oh, Heath is here tonight. Nice to see you, Heath, and everybody needs to wish Heath a happy birthday. Heath had his birthday the other day. Heath, you're 40 something or late 30 something, I think, or mid 30s, but you look 25. James Kirk says, what's the main cause of paint chipping off of bare plastic even when you do your prep work properly? Boy, if you do all your prep work properly, James, and you sanded it and you washed the parts and made sure there was no mold release agent still on there, and it chipped after that, I would have to say it had to be your primer or something like that. Is it chipping all the way down to the bare plastic, or is it just the paint coming off and the primer staying, or it had to be something with the material you were using. Good job, guys. Everybody's wishing Heath a happy birthday. I hope you had some cake and whatever your favorite dinner is there, Heath. Yeah, Chris was there in our hangout, and we kept him up late, and then I think he was working on his P40, and I watched his finale video when he finished his Wild Bill Kessel P40 Tomahawk model that he built, and I think on his video he said that he finished the model up that night after the hangout. So Chris, you must have been up until dawn. Way to go, buddy. That's how I roll. Scale Model Kit Review just joined us. Nice to see you this evening. Thanks for stopping by. Yes, some of you guys weren't here last week. Jeremy, I announced last week, or just before the show last week, Jeremy will no longer be on the show with us, guys. He's moved on to some other things. If you guys remember, we talked about that. He just recently got married. He's got a new wife. He's trying to, they're trying to start their life and get going. And what we're doing here wasn't paying Jeremy a whole lot. I mean, he needs to get on with his life, and we talked about all that and everything. And whoops, I wish him well. I dropped my microphone. I hope it's still working. I wish him well, and so yeah, but he's busy with a new family, and thanks for all the nice comments you guys made about it and everything. So yeah, you're stuck with me here for a while, guys. I see Jerry from HDA Modelworks has popped in. Nice to see you, Jerry. I'm probably going to hop over to Uvu after this is over, and if any of you guys are hanging out tonight, be in there for a little while. Gohan 196269. Nice to see you here too. We've got a lot of new people tonight. That's great. I guess the word's getting out about our little show here. I'm really happy to hear that. Hope you enjoy it. Like I said, a few guys mentioned earlier, it's a lot of fun to come and watch the show live because we have a great crowd of guys that shows up every week. They're all modelers, and that's the kind of people I like to hang out with. And you learn some tips from other people in here too, and they'll talk about the work they're working on, and you can find out about other YouTube channels that they have and where they're posting stuff and everything, sharing tips and everything. So it's really great. Rob Miser, I think he might be new too. Nice to see you, Rob. He's talking about when you know sanding your primer, and then yeah, you sand your primer, and then you can also sand your paint in between coats if you're doing one more coat. I frequently, like the Enterprise here that I showed tonight, I painted one coat of my base coat on there, and then I wet sanded the entire model with 1500 grit sandpaper, and got my paint really, really smooth, and then I painted it again and wet sanded that, and that's how you get your smooth paint jobs. You've got to make sure your paint's really dry though when you wet sand it. You don't want to try to do that too soon, or it'll get really gummy on you when you're trying to do it. Scott Hall says, "What is the after show address?" Scott, there's not an address. We go on this program called Uvu. It's a live video chat thing. It's just a program, and then you install it on your computer. It's a small little program, and then you'll get your contacts. You have to make contacts with everybody in there, and then once you're in the contact list, you can just click on it. It works like a phone. You basically click on it, you'll hear like a phone ringing, and you dial somebody up, and then they'll pick up an answer, and you get right into the chat session. The nice thing about Ubu is that I believe it holds two more people than the Google Hangouts do. You can get 12 people in there on that one, and Google you can only do 10. Jim Clark says, any other tips on fitting the TOS 1350 shuttle bay? Well, if you guys have built that model or if you heard about it, that's the worst part about that entire model is trying to stuff that shuttle bay inside there. It's actually too big for the model. It doesn't fit. When you try to squeeze it in there just out of the box, you'll see you have towards the fantail or towards the rear, you'll wind up with a really big gap. So what I do with mine, and I've kind of worked out a little system on those, is I take my little Dremel tool and I grind the inside surface of the two sides of the secondary hull back by where the shuttle bay is. I grind that down to get a little bit of clearance, and then anywhere I can grind down the outer surfaces of the shuttle bay without going through it and making it too thin. And you just have to keep doing that and doing that and doing that until you get just enough where it'll sit in there and you can squeeze it together and look at it and make it fit. There's just no other way around it. I've pretty much everybody I've ever heard of that built that model had the same exact problem with it. So you're going to have to do a little bit of work with that. David Hale says, "What's the Ubu Hangout going to be called?" It won't be called anything, David. There's no. It's not one person hosting the Hangout or anything like that. It's just we're all in there. Once you join Uvu, you'll see that there'll be a list of people. I'm trying to remember. It's been so long. Maybe somebody can remind it here or refresh my memory how you actually get on the contact list. I can't remember how we actually did all that. You send a. You can do a search actually when you go in there. If you search for TrekWorks, you'll see that I'll list in there, and you send me a request, and I'll get it, and then I'll click yes, and then you'll be on the contact list, and then you should be able to just call us. You hit the call button, and it will. One of us will pick, or I'll pick up, or whoever you call will pick up, and then you'll be right in. Anyone here know the answer? Roger Ball, there's another new guy tonight. Nice to see you, Roger. He's asking, I haven't used Vallejo primer, but he's asking, has anyone had issues sanding Vallejo primer? I watched a channel the other day, and they said it doesn't sand well. He's working on an 80s Yamato kit, and it's taking a lot of putty and sanding. So anybody out there that might be able to help him out, that's worked with Vallejo. I saw Heath ask a question about the refit there, but it went by. Let me try to find that again. Heath is asking, do you have the same problem on the Enterprise refit shuttle bay? No, Heath, the shuttle bay fits in the refit really well. The only problem you have with the refit is the very rear sort of fantail piece that goes on there. Some guys like to glue it onto the shuttle bay first and then put it in the model like that. But um, if you make sure you get everything closed up together, like I demonstrated a tip that I showed when I built my last refit on the video build series that I did, is what I like to do is there's a couple of pins in the bottom of the model where the shuttle bay sort of sits on top of it. I shave those down so that I can, before I put the main dorsal piece on the top, I can shove, I can put my shuttle bay in there. And so the model is already put together on the sides with my fantail piece already glued on, and I take the shuttle bay and I just put it in there and I just push it as far back as it'll go, and you'll see that it'll squeeze right in there. If you put it on the pegs that it's supposed to be mounted on, it leaves it with a gap where you have a gap between the floor of the shuttle bay and the little fantail piece, and you're going to have to wind up filling that in with something later on. So that's just a little trick that I figured out, and it worked really good the last couple of them that I built. But the shuttle bay itself fits in the model really good. I think Chris is saying on the Vallejo primer it will peel more than sand. Yeah, that's a mark of a poor primer. If you're sanding your primer and it doesn't form a nice powder when you're sanding it, it's no good. I think like a lot of you guys, you experiment and look around for different things, especially if you can save a little bit of money. And I was pleasantly surprised. I've shown this to you before, but I've been using this. It's kind of got some overspray on it, but I've been using this stuff that I pick up at Walmart. This is $1.89 a can. It's called Home Shades. You can get it in gray or you can get it in red oxide. And I'm telling you guys, I'm really, really happy with this primer. And I'm really fussy about my primer. I used to use the automotive TranStar, but that stuff's kind of expensive. But I've been using this stuff here in the last, I don't know, I guess like since last spring, and all the models that you've seen me build up here on the show and on the channel, I guess the last 10 or 12 models I built, I've been using this stuff, and I'm having no problem with it at all. It works great, dries fast, and one thing I really like about it is that it sprays down on there like baby smooth. I mean, really, really nice and smooth. And when you get down towards the end of the can, it doesn't start splattering really bad either, like a lot of primers do that are in spray cans. So grab yourself a can of this if you have it at your local Walmart. I don't know if all the Walmarts carry it, but my local one here does. Again, it's called Home Shades. Get a little closer to the camera there for you. And I'm really, really pleased with it. Like you guys, I'm sure I'm always on the lookout to save a little bit of money and find something that works. And yeah, Chris says it. Yeah, it does. It comes in black as well. And so yeah, like I said, you know, it's been perfect so far. And I'm spraying with solvent-based paints. That will usually, if you have a poor primer, a solvent-based paint will attack that right away and it'll mess up. And I'm having no problems at all with it. Sand's really nice. It's beautiful, especially for $1.89 a can. The TranStar that I was using, it comes in a little bit bigger can. It's like a 12-ounce can, but it's like $12 a can. This stuff is $1.89. Leona Timber Company says he doesn't use Tamiya because of the cost. Yeah, for a little bitty tiny can, it's very expensive. It's good primer, but it's expensive. Dries really fast too. Alpha Trion 92 says those Enterprise kits or Enterprise ships look great, but they're a pain in the butt to build, trying to keep the warp engines level. Well, the 350 scale classic Enterprise kit, it's built like a tank Alpha. You practically cannot get the engines crooked on that. They've got such a thick molded plastic on that, and they've got internal. It's a very, very well engineered kit. You practically can't get it crooked. You don't have to prop them up when they're drying or anything. You just glue it together, and they fit really, really tight in these sockets that are designed into the model. The same thing with the neck and the saucer. I mean, it's like it's the strongest built or strongest engineered and thickest plastic model that I've ever seen. It's an incredibly heavy model when it's finished too. I mean, it's about twice as heavy as the. It feels like it's about twice as heavy as the Enterprise refit 350 scale when you finish with it. It's just built like a tank. And the engines, every one I've built, they've came out perfectly straight, and so it's not like the old the 1650 scale AMT kit where almost everyone you see the engines are sagging on it. They've really improved that. The refit comes out pretty good too. It's got those pegs that line everything up, so you really have a hard time getting those on crooked too. James Kirk says, just a thought, if you spray the adhesion promoter, then heat gun it, can that cause the primer not to bond? It shouldn't, James. That's the method that I use every time, and it shouldn't do that. You just want to make sure that when you spray your adhesion promoter on, that you're going to be painting fairly soon over the top of it. You shouldn't let that sit for a few hours or whatever. It's meant to be sprayed down, and then you should spray within just a few minutes after you apply it. Chris with Classic Plastic says, funny how a big museum can't restore a TV icon, yet a couple of shipbuilders did the Galileo and brought it back to its original state. That's exactly right, Chris. Who's in-house at the Smithsonian that's an expert prop restoration artist? They work on real ships, and what they do there is they restore them. They preserve them, actually. They don't restore them. They just keep them from getting any more rusty or whatever. They're not experts in the area of, and that's what our argument was, is that, you got a guy like Jim Dow out there who, if you guys don't know who Jim Dow is, look it up, and you'll see what I mean by his list of accomplishments. Excuse me. I can understand if I wrote to him and said, hey, I'm a guy in San Antonio that's building models in his garage, I'm pretty good, but how about letting me have a crack? They'd probably laugh, you know what I mean? But when somebody like Jim Dow offers to his expertise, and I mean, even if they didn't want him to do the work, at least call him in and say, okay, Jim, what do we need to do on this thing? Because you're an expert, and you're, he's won Academy Awards for his work. And as I pointed out, many of you may not know, Jim actually was hired by Gene Roddenberry back when they were doing the Star Trek Phase 2 series, which some of you guys know, that came along right after the original Star Trek series, in between the original Star Trek series and when they were getting, before they did Star Trek the Motion Picture. The motion picture hadn't even been thought of yet. Originally, when they were going to bring Star Trek back, they were going to do it as a television series. And Gene Roddenberry brought Jim Dow in, hired him personally, and they had the original model there. And Jim Dow did an in-depth study on that model and has also pictures of it, and he kept notes on the whole thing. And the model was in its original condition at that point. It hadn't been touched by anybody. Right after they took it, finished filming the last episode of Star Trek, they packed it in a crate and it sat there until Jim looked at it again. So his eyes were the first to look at it. And so there's another point that I was trying to make, that there's nobody that's seen that model in that condition, and that's the condition that they're trying to bring it back to. So there's nobody else out there, and Jim was not, people, I've heard people making comments that he was trying to, charge him a lot of money. No, he was not. He didn't talk about that at all. And it comes out now that they're trying to do this on a really small budget, That's trouble signs, guys. That's a big trouble sign there. And now it's coming out that people are getting offered the work that absolutely are not qualified to work on that model. I hurt to hate anybody or hate to hurt anybody's feelings out there, but the couple people that were mentioned that claim they got offered to do the job, they're not qualified to do that job, and that's just the way it is. And then you have people like Doug Drexler, who is on the committee that is in charge of the whole thing. Didn't even know that they had offered somebody the job, so they're already having a communication problem, and that's another troubling sign. The fact that they farmed it out before and got screwed when they did it the last time, and the guy did a total amateur job. They haven't learned their lesson. So I'm just hoping enough people write into the Smithsonian, and even if we don't get the work, guys, I'm not trying to whine and complain and say, hey, only us, only us. Even if we don't get the work, they need to stop for a second and say, hey, what are we actually doing here? Because, this job has to be done right, and it has to last for years and years and years. And we'll just see, what happens with the whole thing. But like I said, it doesn't look good so far. It looks like they're going down the same exact path of mistakes that they made the last time. And it almost makes me think that they shouldn't even have the model. It should be somewhere else where they would realize, the importance of the whole thing. But that's just my opinion. But it's sad, and hopefully it doesn't turn out to be a disaster like it was last time. Yeah, and that's the other comment I see you guys are talking about. That's the other thing, people, a couple people dropped a couple bombs on my YouTube video, and I just basically dumped them and deleted them off of there because they were nothing but a bunch of trolls that were coming in there. Some of them didn't even know what they were talking about. They were blabbing off about stuff they had no idea about the facts or anything, and they were acting like we were trying to take over the whole project. We weren't talking about taking over the project. They put it out that they were looking for somebody to come and help assist with the paint work on the model, and that's exactly what we were talking about doing. And we weren't going to come in there and say, hey, the rest of you guys are a bunch of chumps, get out of here. We're going to come in here and start giving orders and take over. It wasn't anything, that wasn't the idea at all. I thought I was pretty clear about that when I made the video, but you got your haters out there, and I don't even deal with those people anymore. When they post stuff like that on my videos or whatever, I don't even bother to find out who they are or anything. I just delete them, and if they come back again and they start spouting off, I ban them from the channel permanently. So, I don't have time for people like that. And half the time when you go check on these so-called experts or expert model builders that criticize you and stuff like that, you go look at what they've done, and they haven't done anything. They've got a YouTube channel with no models on there or no pictures of models they've built. People that don't build seem to be the worst critics, and I think that's kind of funny how that all works out. Sorry to say all this stuff, guys, just kind of getting some of the stuff off my chest that's bugs me about YouTube and all that, and the people, we're lucky that we have a great bunch of people here, and I think most of you guys that run channels deal with it the same way I do. It's not even worth giving these guys the light of day so they can, try to ruin it for everybody else. Yeah, I will mention that a couple of the actual original cast members from Star Trek are going to come out and endorse Paul and Jim for this project, so maybe that'll carry a little bit of weight. They've heard about this whole thing, and they're not happy about it either, believe me. You guys will hear a lot more about it coming down the road. Yeah, what I just said there a minute ago, guys, that's no knock against any of you here that don't put up model builds on your channels. You're real modelers and everything. You can tell who the people are. If you're around the YouTube community very long, or you belong to any kind of forums, there's people out there in cliques, and they don't like you no matter what you do. I delivered that message loud and clear to a couple of my longtime haters out there this week, and like I said, I don't even waste my time dealing with them anymore. It's not even worth it. Try to be, you try to do nice things and help people out and stuff, but I guess there's some people that just don't like that. Yeah, Michael Kovac says Nichelle Nichols just went up on a NASA mission. Well, good for her. She's still really getting around pretty good. I mean, these people are getting pretty old. So yeah, I did read that article. That was pretty cool to see that. And she just had a stroke recently. It was a minor one, thank goodness. But man, when I hear stuff like that, that's kind of scary. I mean, I'm really sad every time I hear about one of these guys, leaving us. I grew up with these people and just admired them. And Leonard Nimoy was a really hard one to take when he passed away. I've said it before. Out of all the actors that played in Star Trek, he'd be the one that I would have most wanted to sat down and had a conversation with. He just seemed like such a really, really genuine person and a really smart person too in real life. He really was like Mr. Spock. Somebody asked, what kind of a finish would you use on a model that you're going to handle frequently? Well, an automotive finish is good for that. It's very, very tough, and it's meant to hold up under, to that kind of stuff, from fingerprints and from UV, from sunlight and all that. That's, like I said, that's why I like using it. It costs me a lot of money to use the paint, but it'll last forever, basically. And I work with it anyway every day in my regular job, so I mean it makes perfect sense for me to use it. We've talked about it before. Some of you guys can't because you can't get it in your area, or you can't spray that in you're working inside and stuff. So you just got to do the best you can with what you've got. Dad Nader says he'd like to apprentice here at the shop. Well, Dad Nader, if you were to live closer by, you'd be welcome to do that. I'm going to be looking for another assistant here in the shop pretty soon because I've just got so much work to try to keep up with. And I'm actually thinking of going over to my local a couple hobby shops here in town. I know the managers over there. I'm in there all the time. But I'm hoping I can maybe put up a little flyer or something and maybe find somebody, or the next model show I go to here locally, maybe put up a little sign on my table and see if there's anybody interested. Even if they're not really experienced at building models, if they're just somebody who's passionate about art and things like that, and they're good with their hands, they can learn. It's exactly what Jeremy was doing. He was learning. Well, guys, I'm showing almost 10 o'clock here. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to run. I'm going to go grab a really quick bite to eat, and then I'm going to hop over to Uvu for a little while and see if anybody's on there. And so I hope you guys enjoyed it tonight. Like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of content. I thought you might enjoy the getting the seeing the some work done on the Enterprise here, since we had that. We were going to be working on that anyway, and I was very busy this week, so hopefully I'll have a better show for you guys next week. I still think we had a good show. We had a great conversation here at the end, and I appreciate you guys all being there. And again, I can't tell you how much it meant to us. This comes directly from Paul and Jim. They really appreciated the support you guys gave us. They couldn't believe it. Paul's been kind of around, but Jim's been out of the loop for quite a while as far as anything Star Trek. He's still working. He's doing a lot of teaching. He teaches. He lives in Hawaii. He splits his time between Hawaii and California. He's in Spain actually right now. And but he's been hearing about all this stuff, guys, and trust me, he really, really was blown away and appreciates everything. He's a very, very modest and very humble guy. I wish you guys could all get a chance to meet him. He's the most down-to-earth person I've ever met for the accomplishments that he has. So you guys are pulling for the right horse, trust me. And this isn't over yet. Like I said, keep the heat on these guys. Make sure that they know that we want it done right. And again, even if you're not, even if we don't get it, it's not about us. It's about making sure that the model is done right. Now, we think we can do it right, and we're absolutely confident about that, but we just want to see it done right. No cutting of any corners. If they're on a budget, for Pete's sakes, do a crowdfunder. Do you know how many people around the world would actually chip in a few dollars? to make sure that that model is done properly. I mean, I would have no problem sending some of my money into a project like that, especially if I knew there was some really good, qualified people to do the job. So budget should not be an issue, but it sounds like it is, you know. So that's, like I said, those are not good indicators of how this is going. So anyways, guys, I'm going to call this one a wrap. I appreciate it again. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week. I'm going to say goodnight. Take care, guys. Happy modeling. We'll see you next week, everybody, and probably see you with an update on the TrekWorks channel this week with some work on that Battlestar Galactica getting started. So we'll see you then, everybody. Good night.